near Tel Aviv was cooking Italian food in Philadelphia when a sniper killed his 21-year-old brother, an Israeli soldier who was patrolling on Yom Kippur. Mr. Solomonov, who is Jewish, dedicated himself to Israeli cuisine and opened Zahav in Philadelphia. The restaurant brought him and Israeli food to national prominence, and he has opened since 20 more restaurants. Isn't Hatzalah the organization that originated the baby in the oven thing? Or am I thinking of a different organization? Because there's like a couple different ones. Anyway, this is the organization which Solomonov's restaurants donated over $100,000 towards in October, providing medical support, food, and personal care items to Israeli soldiers. Goldie was not just a randomly selected Jewish restaurant. Obviously, this pales in comparison to the U.S. government and defense contractor military support for Israel, but it's not like Goldie was the primary target of a march. Framing this as anti-Semitic without mentioning this context is what people are trying to discredit Palestinian solidarity action wants. Further reports come to light in case of the baby who perished in an oven during the attack on Hamas, a tragedy that has horrified millions. Yeah, it was Hatzalah. There's a Canadian bookstore chain that was targeted because the CEO raises funds for people in Canada to serve in the IDF. Yeah, I remember that. So that's the other thing I was going to say. There's an organization that literally offers scholarships for people to go study in Israel so they can join the IDF. And like, yeah, of course people would protest that, and they did. Community members protest that. And in Canada, they presented that also as they protested that, and people in the Canadian media also turned around and claimed that was like an act of random anti-Semitism. I guess always there are more valid targets considering how massive the support is. Like, go protest your local government. They've probably given more material support to the IDF than anything else, really. But I will stand by it. There are instances where if you like go and tag a random synagogue or whatever, like, what the fuck are you doing? Even if the random synagogue in and of itself is like in support of the IDF, you still shouldn't do that. Especially when there are plenty of people that go there. It's a place of worship. It's different. You know what I mean? Whereas if a restaurant in and of itself has an owner that is like directly funding certain charities that end up offering material support to the IDF, well, that's tagging synagogues is blatant anti-Semitism. Yeah, no, I'm saying that. That's my position as well. Like I said, it seems like it was more so a larger protest that was occurring where they made one stop here and it wasn't like directed towards this restaurant randomly. And therefore, I think there is like misinformation flying around. I mean, this is going to recirculate over and over again. And I do think that there are going to be instances, and has been instances, where people do things that are absolutely anti-Semitic. I was there. It wasn't the main point of the protest. Yeah. I don't consider this to be one of those instances. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter because I think it stems from the employees like being fired, as they claim that they were fired for being pro-Palestine. It's a snapshot of a much larger protest to vilify all matter of like pro-Palestinian movement. It's the same shit that happened in LA when locals protested the AIPAC president's house. Yeah, I saw that as well. That didn't get like as much play in the media, but yeah, in Brentwood, people protested outside the president of AIPAC's house. People made it seem like they were just like going there because he's Jewish, like a random person that's Jewish. That didn't get this much like round condemnation though. Even I like had friends that sent me that and were like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. It's terrifying. Because of the way that it was being presented was like, oh, they went to like a random Jewish person's house. How the fuck did Eater write a more balanced story about one of their star chefs? Here's what we know about protests surrounding Michael Solomonov's restaurants. There were reports that posted a viral video showed dozens of protesters chanting, Goldie, Goldie, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. The incident has led to several local and national politicians calling for the demonstration in front of the restaurant an act of Semitism, given that Solomonov has no formal connection to the Israeli government or military or its actions. There have been no confirmed reports or critical damage to Goldie, though protesters were staking Free Palestine and This is Genocide stickers on the building's exterior. He's a brief explainer of what's going on. The group that led the charge to protesting outside of Goldie on Sunday night was the Philadelphia Free Palestine Coalition. According to their social media accounts, they appear to be a diverse coalition of activists and community organizers, some of who are also Jewish, who are calling for a complete end to the siege on Gaza and the end to the U.S. complicity with Israel, a cause that I'm in support of. In recent weeks, the group has specifically called for a boycott of various cooks and solo restaurants, which includes restaurants ranging from high-end Zahav to casual Kefar Cafe, as well as Goldie, plus other Israeli-owned businesses such as Soraya, Moshava, and Mezeh in Philadelphia. Why Solomonov's restaurants specifically? In October, Solomonov announced that he was raising money via some of his restaurants to support those injured in the Israel-Hamas war. He told the public that he would be donating 100% of all sales on Thursday, October 12th, to Friends of United Hazala, a nonprofit emergency service that is currently partnering with the IDF during the war to provide medical supplies and training. The fundraiser raised more than $100,000 according to Solomonov's Instagram. While United Hazala is supporting the Israeli army during wartime, typically it functions as an emergency medical support complementary to Magen David Adom, Israel's paramedic and Red Cross service. Hazala operates in Israel but also provides services in other countries and cities, including New York City and Florida. In Israel, it services all victims of medical emergencies regardless of citizenship, including Palestinians, and operates in both Israel and the West Bank. It also partners with the Red Crescent, the Palestinian Authority's ambulance service, and operates Israeli Arab chapters in predominantly Arab towns. Solomonov and Cook and Solo declined to give comment. It doesn't seem that bad. Like, I think it's them potentially firing one of their employees is for being pro-Palestine is, like, I think worse than donating funds like this to like an Orthodox Jewish rescue organization. Supporters of Philadelphia's Free Palestine Coalition have clarified on social media that Cook and Solo restaurants aren't being targeted for being Jewish-owned, but specifically because the organization they're giving money to aids IDF soldiers. There have also been allegations online that pro-Palestine supporters have been fired from Goldie for their personal politics. As for the reporting of the story, neither Solomonov nor Cook and Solo have given a statement addressing these matters and declined to respond to Eater Philly. This is out of context. I was there. They made it clear it was because the owner gave millions to a nonprofit that funds the IDF. And other Jewish-owned restaurants in Philly faced protests. So far, it appears that the only reported physical protests at Jewish-owned restaurants have been at Cook and Solo, likely given Solomonov's public stance on the war and his decision to donate funds to United Hazala. Boycott Israeli food and Zionist business in Philly. Goldie, Zahav, Laservolt. This is one of the issues with BDS. This is an unfortunate consequence of how this kind of stuff works. If you were to protest South African businesses, it's a little bit different because, like, there's no historical Boer oppression. Does that make sense? So, like, if you were to protest it at the time, as many did, it's much harder to draw lines on a historically oppressed, marginalized group of people being attacked for simply being a part of this historically oppressed and marginalized group of people. There's the major difference there. So sometimes, and this has happened before, a lot of the larger BDS lists that people put out, sometimes have very loose affiliations with Israel. Does that make sense? Overall, some of this stuff I think is, like, understandably scary for Jewish people. Like, I will say it, even though it is led by Jewish people, usually, these kinds of protest movements. Like, I'm saying that I'm more understanding, even though I don't think that this is, in and of itself, a directed form of protest that is, like, anti-Semitic, because it is literally a protest for a specific restaurant owner and their chain of restaurants. I get why there's more fear surrounding it from the larger Jewish population in this area. However, there's also one other aspect of the story that I cannot fucking stand, which is the obviously systemic conflation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Whether or not protests get out of hand does not change the reality that there is definitely a legitimate interest by governing bodies to conflate anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. United Hazala works within the IDF in the same way that the U.S. Army and all American EMS services work with each other. They work for the same government. They don't fund the IDF. Yeah. I understand. What? Basically, all these Jewish people need to get over it and remove all their fears because it's anti-Zionist. Seems unlikely to happen. I literally never said that. What the fuck? I am much more sympathetic to why Jewish people would be fearful of such a thing. Why is it that that's what you... How do you get that out of what I said when I said literally the exact opposite of what you think I said? No, of course not. No, I said the exact opposite. I'm saying it's reasonable for random Jewish people to look at this and go, holy fuck, these guys are being anti-Semitic, especially when it's presented as anti-Semitic by media organs. However, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. So it's just like there's a very delicate line to strike in these circumstances. Most of these movements are led by American anti-Zionist Jews in general. Almost all of them, especially in the Western world, especially in the United States of America. Optics-wise, this is simply one aspect of a much larger protest, and there's a reason why everybody fucking hyper-focused on this aspect of it. Because this is the one aspect of it that looks the worst. That's it. How do you think we should combat this cynical conflation? You just have to be very careful, and I've said this already. You should be very careful, and you center American anti-Zionist Jewish voices, too. Look, I say this as someone who believes, of course, that Palestinians should be first and foremost in this conversation. But in order for this to be, in the Western world, in order for this to be a optically successful movement, Obviously, organizations like Jewish Voice for Peace are very important, and if they weren't, then the ADL wouldn't be regularly fucking trying to destroy them. I know it seems like optics are not important as long as there is an ethnic cleansing campaign going on. However, we're in the Western world. We're living in the United States of America. And in that situation, you want as broad a coalition as